You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome back to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs. We talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the show. Before we get into it, want to take a moment to send a quick shout out and thanks for all of you, our supporters who continue to listen and watch our show. Just a quick reminder, you can always listen and watch, and we'd really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, you can become a Patreon supporter that allows you to watch our show live, so you can interact with us as we do the show live. And also, it allows you to get some exclusive content. Before we get into the show this week, a little recap of what you can expect on this week's episode of the Snob OS show. We're going to kick it off with the lowdown, where we're going to recap. We've had a full week with iOS 26 and all of the OS 26 versions that Apple dropped. Also, if you have upgraded to iOS 26, you're probably going to have to stay there for a while. Also, Apple Wallet is getting an update with passport support. We're going to dig into that a little bit further. And also, in the automotive space, we haven't talked automotive in a while. If you are in the market to get a Jaguar Land Rover vehicle, we have an update for you that you may want to take into consideration. And in For the Culture, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened at TSU yesterday, Terrance's alma mater. We'll get into that. And finally, with all of these new updates that we got from Apple, there's a new way that you can take photos only using your AirPods. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's show with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. First up, we've had iOS, iPad OS, Mac OS, all the new OSs for about a week now. Last week, we talked about our initial impressions, and we only had a couple of days with the new software. Now that we've had it in our hands, been able to use it in our everyday life, have any of your initial impressions changed, or has any new feature kind of popped up and said, hey, I really like this and I'm really enjoying it?
Not really. Nothing's really changed from last week. I took the time and did all of my poking around and customizations and stuff last week. Really haven't poked around at anything new. I don't like talking on the phone. So one of my main features that I lauded about, I think that's the right word, was the call screening. But I don't talk to nobody, so I really haven't had a chance to actually try the call screening where somebody calls me and my phone says, hey, this is Terrance's phone, speak your business. You know, I haven't had time to, maybe I'll have somebody do a dry run or something like that, do a quick test. But as far as actually trying it out, I haven't tried it out yet. Because again, I don't talk to people, and people really don't stay on the phone very long, especially if it's like a telemarketer or somebody just get my business. You know, once they figure out my phone is screening them, they hang up. Because a couple times, phone call come in, I'm like, all right, bet, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna wait, see what happens. The phone app's screen shows you that somebody's trying to call, and after a couple seconds, it just cuts out because the people hang up on the other end because they're like, nah, I ain't going for this. So it's a good thing that it seems like telemarketers know that this feature exists, and instead of just trying to power through, they just give up.
Yeah. I have to say that it's happened to me a few times, and in most instances, it's like you said, they hang up. But a couple of times, they've actually left their little, blurb at the beginning, and I was like, oh my God, this is kind of cool. And when you go into the app, it has a separate line item for your silenced calls. So, that's kind of that's been kind of interesting to see it kind of actually live in action. And I really hope that it is deterring telemarketers, I guess, until they figure out a way how to bypass it. But at this point, I don't know how they're going to be able to bypass it. So I'm sure they have their tech people trying to figure it out. But it's definitely, so far, it's, for the most part, it's working. I've only had maybe one or two in the last week that actually, stated their business. But for the most part, people just hang up. I have to say that when we talked last week, I'd forgotten to update. And now that I have, I can say that the liquid glass is growing on me. I still have it turned on, and I'm still using it across all my devices. I have to say, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. I think it's just different. I've noticed that the animations are a lot more prevalent. And when I say animations, I mean like when you're doing a text message. Now, when you press the button to send, it does like a little flash. Or when your phone is like, it gets down to like the 20%, the red bar that we're used to just seeing kind of in the background, it now kind of raises up and it pulses a little bit at the end and asks you if you want to turn on low power mode. And the only way you could press it and it automatically turns on low power mode, or you can just kind of swipe up to remove it. And it's just things like that, the back buttons, or when you're typing in your passcode, it kind of pings, like all these little animations that I'm seeing just through my normal usage. And that's very new for Apple, because we've always known Apple to be kind of very sleek, minimalist, I guess is the word to say. But yeah, I think I've just been shocked a little bit by how, I guess, animated and active, just kind of, simple things are. I think that's probably...
Well, there's a setting to where you can turn off all that animation stuff in the accessibility.
Oh,
good. This is what in past OSs, all of the animations and the what do you call it when you switch from one thing to another?
Toggle on toggle.
Now, what is the transitions? I said that already. Did I say transitions?
I don't think you did.
Anyway, yeah, the transitions from screens, the animations is what I said first. When you're opening up a menu or something like that, I think you can turn that off by going to accessibility. And let me try accessibility.
Because I'm thinking I've never had to turn it off before. I don't think I remember it being defaulted on
or being so prominent.
Yeah.
Animations. Nope. I don't know where the setting is, but there is a setting in iOS to where if you're not feeling all of the transitions and the movement of the menus and the screens, there's a way you can turn that off in accessibility. And if you're listening to this, shoot us a comment, shoot us an email, tell me what that feature is to where you can turn that off. Maybe that'll make Nica feel a little bit better about OS 26 to where everything is not moving and jiggling.
It's just
so
much active. And I'm not used to it just being so active and kind of like in your face. Like the first time the little battery thing came up, I'm like, what is this? Because the where it was kind of like at the 20%, it was just like pulsing. And I'm like, how do I get rid of this? And so before I just kind of clicked on the little power mode to kind of get it out of the way. And then once it happened again, I just swiped and it went away. And I'm like, okay, cool. I appreciate that, because that was just like, what the world? And then, like I said, when you send a text message, every time you send one, it's like a little bling, like a little sparkle thing. And I'm just like, I can be a maximalist sometimes, but I was like, that really just kind of threw me off. I think I've gotten used to it, but it just initially is just kind of like an affront to my senses. But
and you mean like a message like from the lock screen or something?
No, when you're typing a text message and you press the send button, after you type it and you press the send button, it just like, let me see what it like does this like little light show almost. I don't know how to explain it. But like when you press the up button, it does this like little light show. And I'm just like, huh?
Press the up button.
When you press, after you type a message and the little blue up arrow that is your send button.
Yeah, the
when
send
you press
button.
it does this like little light show thing.
Okay. I'm trying.
You don't see it on yours?
I'm trying to do a text message now. Somebody asked me, so I have music on my old Mac that I want to put on my phone, but my phone doesn't even show up as being connected to the Mac. Is there something I can do to move the music? And my response is going to be, I think you can only use iCloud. Let me type that right. To move music to stream, not move, because you're not moving it, to stream your music library. If I can spell library, right? Library. We're doing this live on air, y'all. To stream your music library from one device to another. So that's the message. I'm going to hit send. I mean, that didn't that little I saw the animation that you're saying. That is definitely new, but I don't think it has the response that I didn't get the same response you got.
So I think the difference is in some of my group chats, we really are going at it. So when you're typing and you don't just send one long text message, you said, bursts of shorter ones. And so it's just like you type some bing, you type something bing, you type something bing.
I don't type that much. So maybe that's
okay.
why.
So yeah, maybe that's the difference. Like I said, I have several group chats and we get quite chatty in them. And it's just like, wow, it's just like a little, almost like a little fireworks almost every time you press the up. And like I said, when you send in like 3 or 4, messages back to back to back, and it's just like ping, ping, ping. And it's like, to be.
Well, maybe that's Apple telling you quit all that typing.
But I got to stay in my conversation. So yeah, for any of our snobbists, or any of you listening, if you have some thoughts on using the new OS, whether it's on your iPhone, whether it's on your iPad, whether it's on your Mac, let us know what your thoughts are. Does the text animation firework thing, did it like jar you like it jarred me? Or if you have any other impressions or what this new OS 26 looks like to you, definitely send us a note via email. You can also comment on any of our YouTube link. You can comment on Spotify, you comment on Apple Podcasts, or just shoot us a message on any of the social media apps. We are at SnobOScast everywhere. All right. Next up, after we've just highlighted our first week impressions and kind of gone through what we think about it, Apple has just pulled the plug on iOS 26 downgrades. And what I think is a little bit, I won't say shocking, I say maybe unusual about this is it's happened faster than it normally does. Like I just said, the new OSs have only been out about a week, and they've pulled the downgrade. So before, if you got into iOS 26, you're like, I'm not really feeling this, I want to go back, you could downgrade. Now, finito. You're done. Except for, there is a caveat. There is the iOS 18.7. But you can't go back from 26 to 18.7. You can't go back that way. But there is, before you upgrade, the last version of iOS before iOS 26 and iOS 18.7 launched was iOS 18.6.2. So it's one of those things where when it dropped on that Monday, it would show the iOS 18.7, and then below that it will say, hey, you can upgrade to iOS 26. I just went straight to the iOS 26, right? So if I was like, this liquid glass thing, I'm not feeling it, I don't want it, I can't go back down.
Well, no, not if you haven't first made a encrypted backup of your phone to your computer, and that you have to manually plug your phone up to your computer using USB-C cable, or you have to wirelessly. There's a feature in Mac to where you can say, show this phone in the Finder whenever it's connected to the same Wi-Fi. So you can Wi-Fi the phone and the computer together, or manually connect them via USB, open up the Finder app, make a encrypted backup of your phone before you upgrade it to OS 26. You could then go back that way. And now it's a whole bunch of steps in between. It's not just as simple as clicking downgrade or restore from my encrypted backup. You literally have to nuke your phone. If you want to get back this route, you'd have to nuke your phone all the way back to factory settings. You got to do some funny phone, put your phone in a funny setup mode in order to restore that encrypted copy back to your phone, which would have the previous iOS 18. Again, the caveat is you have to have done that before you upgraded to iOS 6. If you didn't do that and you upgraded, you're stuck. So
it's like I was saying, it's a very unique situation that you can go back down in. But for most people, I won't say most people, because there are some people are
ain't too many people doing it, because I did it. The iOS, I made sure to back up an encrypted copy to my Mac of iOS 18 before I went to OS 26, just because everybody was on the web clowning liquid glass. So I was like, as much as I don't believe it, what you're not about to do is catch me slipping. So I went and made my encrypted copy. Now I have OS 26. If something happens or whatever the case may be, I'm pretty sure, again, I'm not 100% sure with OS 26, but in previous versions, as long as you made an encrypted backup, a physical backup on your computer, not connected to the cloud, anything like that, a backup of your iPad or your Mac on your computer, you can go back. But again, you got to jump through a bunch of hoops to do so.
And I'm going to be honest, I would be nervous to do that. Now, what I did do, like I did with going up to iOS 18, I did the step through. So it took forever, but I upgraded, because I upgraded to 18.7 and then I upgraded 26, because I think I'm having flashbacks back when we had to update our phones through iTunes, and there was no rhyme or reason, but sometimes your phone would just get bricked from doing the update. And I was like, you know what? They're not going to get me. I'm going to, at least if I do brick it, I'm at least going to have the last 18 version, because like I said, I think it's, a little bit of PTSD from back in the day using iTunes,
and that's
when
still
you had
a
to
thing,
upgrade.
Because there are some people who still use PCs and have iPhones, and for that they use iTunes, right, to sync your music between your PC and your phone, right? So, but there, all that to be said, there's still ways you have to do the iTunes thing, but it's like very specific scenarios. Again, ask me how I know. I do this all day long, but there are very specific criteria to where you would actually have to restore your phone via iTunes, and it's still out there. You can still do it. Now, again, they don't call it iTunes on a Mac. It's just the Finder. Yeah. Because before you had to open up iTunes,
it was a completely separate app. Yeah.
Right. Open up iTunes, plug your phone up, wait for your phone to show up in iTunes, and then you can do all the stuff. Yeah. They've pretty much done away with that, to where you plug your phone up, or if your phone and your laptop are on the same wireless network, you can see your phone in the Finder, back up,
it's almost like if you're connecting an external drive or a thumb drive.
That's what it looks like.
That's the way the phone shows up in Finder. So yeah, I did want to get your opinion though on, do you think there is a specific reason why they took the signing off of iOS 18 so quickly? Because a week is a pretty quick turnaround.
You said you can't go back to iOS 17, right? Is that
Yeah,
what you said?
iOS 18. Yeah,
iOS 18.
yeah.
That is a good question. Um, Support. I mean, my guess is they're trying to get everybody on board with iOS 26, and Apple has never been a company that deals with a whole bunch of legacy software. That's been
Mm-hmm.
number one since the word go. Unlike
Mm-hmm.
Windows, unlike some of these other companies, to where you know Microsoft still has to support Windows 6, 7, 8, whatever those numbers are, right?
Right.
Apple has always been, hey man, we full speed ahead.
Right.
Get in where you fit
Ain't no
in.
looking back.
Right. So this is not unsurprising for Apple. Again, like you mentioned, the time frame in which they did it may be a little alarming, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Apple discontinued the iPhone 16 Pro and the Pro Max. So, and that was my phone. My
Yeah.
phone that I bought last year is now
Yeah.
discontinued.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the iPhone 15 and 14 are still for sale in Apple. So maybe it's a money thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
But Apple, they don't like to hang around as far as legacy as far as
Yeah.
that's concerned.
Yeah. So yeah. They're like, you're going to love iOS 26. No, you're going to use iOS 26. If you
Mm-hmm.
went ahead and jumped on the bandwagon early, this is yours. This is you. You stuck with this.
Mm-hmm.
Without, with the caveat of, if you want to go back, we're going to make it a little bit hard for you. Next up, iPhone is going to add US passport support by the end of this year. I know a big deal was made about adding your driver's license to the Apple Wallet. It started with a few states. Arizona was one of the first ones. Surprisingly, Georgia was one of the first ones. When it first became available, I was like one of the first ones. I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and get this done. But now Apple just confirmed that your passport is going to be able to be used on your iPhone. I'm sure this took a lot of wrangling. And it's only for, let me put the caveat, it's only for US passports. It's not for everybody. Right now, it's only American passports. But yeah, they said by the end of this year, we're already in September. We only have 1 quarter left in the year. And the support is coming soon. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they roll this out, because unlike states, it's each state has its own driver's license look, protocol, things behind it, whereas on the passport side, it's a federal document. So it's the same for everybody in the United States. So it's coming. I know in the article that I saw this, and it was like, oh yeah, it's going to eventually come to the point where you won't need your physical passport. I'm always going to have my physical passport, like my driver's license. I have it on my phone, but I keep my real one with me. But it's just another way I think of, for the most part in travel, making it easier, getting people in and out and through the airport as quickly as possible. So yeah, passport's coming to Apple Wallet.
Really doesn't matter if you can't use it anywhere. So it's nice. But if I can't use my passport at the airport, or if I can't use it at the what does it call it when you go to a different country and they bring you in? What's the place where they?
Oh, border.
That starts with a C. What's the word? Customs.
Customs.
When you go into customs, nobody is set up the same way back in the day when Apple Wallet and Apple Pay and contactless payments. Them stores wasn't hearing that. It took a while. It took a while for your mom and pop merchant on the street can accept payments, using a mobile point of sale, i.e. your smartphone, right? They're still trying to get that down now, right? We salivated over the idea of having your driver's license on the phone. I ain't used that thing once. And it's been on my watch. I mean, it's been on my phone for at least 3 years. At least 3 years. I haven't used it not one time. Every time I go to the airport, they're like passport and ID or whatever they say. I try to take my phone and put it over there. Nah, sir, I need your actual
We don't
ID.
do it over here.
So and this is the TSA at America's busiest airport.
Yeah.
So my Apple, and it may not even be Apple's fault. Apple's making sure it's available, trying to be innovative, trying to be forward thinking, trying to be proactive. But if the two hands don't shake, i.e. my phone scanning or tapping something at the TSA or customs or at the flight, the airline booth, if I can't do none of that, what's the point?
And it's interesting on two things. So when you go to the airport and you have to scan your boarding pass, obviously now you don't have to have the physical paper. You can just put your phone down and it scans it. So I don't know how.
You're talking about like a boarding pass?
Yeah, like on your boarding pass. And you have your phone and you put it on the thing. But
it ain't even tapping. It ain't even using contactless payments. What it's doing is scanning a QR code.
It's scanning, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The way that it reads it, I don't know
if they need to change that or
simplify it. Yeah, if it's going to be like a device for the boarding pass, you have to tap it. Like say you have this in front of the TSA agent and their little booth. You have multiple like devices where you do one for your boarding pass and you do one for your passport, or is there an integrated model where all of these work? I don't know. Probably if that's not in the works or if there's a contract. I would assume because TSA is a federal agency.
Right.
But again, with this government we got, who the hell knows? But in theory, if we had a decent working government, you would think that they would put out a, what do you call those things?
Regulation?
Shoot. No, it's the when you bid for something. It's a name for it. I can't
contract.
Remember. Yeah. It has like a fancy name. Whatever. When they submit contracts, when they put, the government says, "Hey, we have this contract open for everybody to bid on," you would think that they would put this out for a company to create a device that across the government they would use that would be some sort of integrated model that could handle all these things.
Right. But the only caveat or the only challenge or obstacle to that is the airlines are not government things.
Regulate. Yeah.
Right. So Spirit versus Frontier versus Delta versus Southwest, US Air, British Air, whatever. They're just like states. They've got their own boarding passes. They've got their own way of collecting user data. They've got their own way of whatever the case may be. And I don't think, number one, it's pretty sure it's all different across all the different airlines. So you got to get them on some sort of standardization, right? Yeah. And then number two, you got to get the airlines talking to the government, right? Yeah. You would think that's already the case, FAA, but it's not foolproof enough to where if Apple rolled out technology to where your passport and your driver's license and your boarding pass could be pulled up off your phone by scanning one time, I don't think corporations and private entities and government offices could talk to each other enough in order to pull off that feat. And then number three, training TSA people to actually do that.
Who don't want to be there anyway.
And then who don't want to be there anyway. And then number five, imagine everything 1, 2, 3, 4 set up. You go somewhere and the power goes out and the network goes out. Then what you gonna do? So it's
get back to the paper. Yeah.
So, for now until indefinitely, keep your driver's license in your pocket, keep your passport in your purse or your backpack or in your pocket for the time being. Even though this is cool.
And I think they're future proofing it. I think they're going ahead and putting it out there, putting it on people's phones, getting people used to it. So when the government catches up, they'll already be solid. People already know where things are, how to use it, that type of thing. But I do have to say, definitely keep things on hand, because my mom texted me, a couple weeks ago. And she was like, hey, I saw this thing where you can put your driver's license on your phone. She's like, how do I do that? So I went to do a screen record to kind of show her the steps to do it. And when I went in there, my Georgia driver's license wasn't in my wallet anymore. And I'm like, where did it go? How did it leave? And so I had to go through the process of adding it back again, I guess, which is good. So I could show her. But it's one of those things where, had I not been specifically going in there for that, I wouldn't have known that it was removed. And normally the state of Georgia, they're pretty good about alerting you to these things, because like when I went to reset it up again, I got a notice in the mail saying, hey, we saw that you want to do a digital wallet. We approved it. If you didn't do this, let us know, blah, 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 blah. So the fact that it was not in my Apple Wallet when I put it in there when it first became available, like you said, about 3 years ago, and now was gone, I was like a little bit shocked. So again, all this technology is great, but at the end of the day, sometimes you have to go low tech, have to go analog, because stuff happens and it stops working. So, just keep it as a backup.
Last time I was on an Amtrak on a train, a commercial train, the dude still came and punched my little ticket. Now, this wasn't decades ago, but it's been about 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I was going from, just when we lived in Baltimore, and I think I was going from Baltimore to New York, or Philadelphia, one of the two. And I got on the Amtrak because it was going to be cheaper, and I didn't mind, sitting around, right? I definitely wasn't driving, so I got on Amtrak, and I went online, bought the ticket or whatever. They print out the little thing, give it to me. The dude came, click, click, click. So all that around the world to say, ain't nothing wrong with going analog every now and again, because it still gets the job done.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm not about to do is writing checks. We can forget about that.
I'm not writing a check. I had to write a check for something. I was getting something done in my house, and they were going to charge me more to run my card. And he was like, yes, we got a pretty big fee. Now he was like, you could do a check if you want. It took me a day to find a check to write.
But ain't that crazy though? As a side, you are contracting somebody to do work for you, right? And in exchange for that work, you're going to pay them whatever they estimated or quoted you at before they started the project, right? On top of that, I gotta pay you to pay you. We've gone off. We're off the deep end, man.
We are, because the thing is, you get the money instantly when you do it electronically. It took them 2 weeks to deposit that check. 2 weeks. Like, you don't need your money? I guess we got like that, okay, but
and everybody's doing it. Processing fee and surcharge, and it's why do I have to pay you to pay
to
you?
pay you? Do you not want your money?
Yeah. So, our greedy society has got some reckoning, but that's another show for another day.
Absolutely. And with that, it's going to wrap it up for the lowdown. We're going to head over into second string, where we talk all other tech. Speaking of being low tech, I bet Jaguar Land Rover wish they were a little bit low tech. So if you plan on buying a Jaguar Land Rover, they're one company now. So if you want a Range Rover, a Defender, Discover, all those are under the what they call JLR brand, which is a Jaguar Land Rover brand. You might want to go ahead and cop that real quick, because the inventory is about to look a little bit crazy. Jaguar Land Rover is Britain's biggest car maker, and it has been completely shut down for weeks after a cyber attack. They are losing about 50 million pounds. I think that's like 68 million US dollars a week. And they don't have an end in sight. And what makes this even worse, they didn't have cyber attack insurance. So,
oh my God. Is there a such thing? I didn't know that.
Yes. It is. And the thing is, this based on, I read a couple different articles on this.
Side note.
Uh-huh.
Jaguar don't even own Jaguar. There's this India company called
Tata
Tata Motors.
Motor. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they just still have the brand name and the imaging, but somebody else owns them. But yeah, this company, they were in the midst of trying to get cybersecurity protection. I'm not sure what happened with that. Either way, they didn't get the coverage. So they are, I think they said they make about 1,000 cars a day between these three factories. So not only are they losing money from building the cars, they are going to have to pay out of pocket for the cyber attack and to fix the issues that led to the cyber attack. So this doesn't just mean, the company is losing money on the, selling cars front. They have over 100,000 jobs in their supply chain that are now impacted by this. Because if you can't have the plants operating, and it's three, and they're the biggest car manufacturer in Britain, all those people are out of work because they're not producing no cars and you don't have the insurance to pay for this. And so it's one of those things where I don't know how you recover from this, especially if I didn't realize they were requiring companies to have cyber attack insurance, but I guess it makes sense. But you don't even have the means to make money outside of what you already have in inventory. And two, you now have to deal with the fallout from this cyber attack and you're not covered.
Well, so Jaguar really wasn't doing anything anyway this year. So it's all been Land Rover pushing, driving the sales. I don't know the exact story, but Jaguar was having some issues to where they wasn't putting out any cars for the 2025, 26 model year, or maybe it was 2024. I can't remember. Anyway, all that to say, Jaguar's already had some issues. And then when you add this on top of it, that's already on top of the what's the word? The ideal that Land Rovers are always in the shop, right? That's always been the knock for Land Rover forever. Is
lease them, don't buy them,
right,
they are gonna break.
Stay up in the shop, right?
Yeah.
So on top of that, on top of Jaguar not really making cars like that, then you get a cyber attack. Good luck,
bro.
Good luck.
And it's a ripple effect because it's not just merely Jaguar Land Rover, but their other suppliers. You have people supplying other parts, but they can't buy anything because they're not making cars.
I'm not surprised though. Companies' IT infrastructure is very, very lax. Again, I work in IT, but I'm not in cybersecurity. But I'm pretty sure of myself when I say if a entity really wanted to do some damage, there are some ways into some of these big companies. And most of it is user error. Most of it is end users trying to circumvent IT policies. It is old legacy systems that the company can't do without, that need to stay running, but they can't update them because they're so old. There's opportunities there. There's opportunities through, all kinds of ways, and so all that to say, all of these breaches that we're getting from companies, I'm not surprised. But what I am surprised at is these companies kind of like, really nothing we can do about it. Meanwhile, they're still collecting all my data. They still taking all my payments. They still charge it. I got all this debt, right? But meanwhile, I ain't saying I'm underwater in debt. I'm just saying, you add up mortgages and cars and stuff like
bills.
Bills, right? they're kind of still like, well, we just got to keep the thing going. Customers are going to get their data leaked. People's identities may get shredded up, but I mean, what are we going to do? Just keep on. Let's just keep pushing out this product, because we can't stop, and that's ultimately, that's the problem. Because if companies like, I mean, I don't know exactly, but if companies actually took time and said, we're going to pause. Now, I ain't saying stop making stuff. I ain't saying stop making money, but we really need to reconfigure and shore up our technological infrastructure as it relates to cybersecurity, because it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And these companies, outside of just buying some insurance, that ain't going to stop it. That's just you.
That's going to protect the company. That's not going to protect your consumers, right?
Right. That's just covering your ass when it happens versus what,
because it's going to happen.
Because what we as customers need you to do is figure out how to prevent this from happening, but
protect us. But they're not going to do that.
But consumers are not speaking up with their wallets.
Yeah.
So it's just business as usual.
And the thing about this particular attack, is this group called Scattered Spider. They're also known as Scattered Lapis Hunters. And they are the cybercrime group that claim responsibility for the attack. And it was a data breach. But what's even more interesting, this happened at the end of August. So it's been not quite a month. And Jaguar Land Rover, they didn't initially specify what type of data was compromised. So it's one of those things where obviously this is bad, so bad that you had to shut down production of your factories, but you aren't really, saying what really went into this. I don't know if they don't know it yet and they're still going through the logs and trying to figure it out. But at this point, you gotta say something, especially if it was a data breach, and a data breach that was so, I guess, in depth that it causes you to be concerned about ramping up your production factories again. So I don't know. It doesn't look good. And they said until October 1st, that's the current pause through date. But who knows if they don't get this resolved, or how long this may last. So this is impacting, tens of thousands, upwards of 100,000 jobs with just the overall kind of package. So people gotta really get serious. A lot of times people slack on, in my experience working in tech, people slack on cybersecurity and people slack on testing because, we can kind of test as we go, or, we have this COPS package that we got that we kind of put on top of it. And it's not enough. It's not enough. And we're seeing with this particular thing how bad it can get. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Second String. Let's head into Further Culture, where we talk about what's going on around us. And my God, is there so much going on around us? I was, I'm producing the show this week, so I was going through what we're going to talk about, and it was so many things to potentially talk about. But I wanted to talk about this particular thing because it has a tie-in to Terrance, his alma mater. So I don't know. I'm sure you guys have seen what is the thing called Jubilee, where people go on and they debate people who have opposing opinions. I think Pete Buttigieg did it. A couple of other Democrats. It was like one Democrat against 20 conservatives. I think Amanda Seales has done it. And it's one of those things where it's entertainment for people, where they want to just argue with people back and forth for the sake of arguing because I'm right and all they're doing is spewing their own thing. Well, it's kind of morphed into what happened with the whole Charlie Kirk situation. That was one of the things that he did, was he went to college campuses and he debated with students on DEI, racism, affirmative action, all these types of things. But with Charlie Kirk, he usually went to other white universities. And we know, I think it was last week, he was killed at one of these rallies, or one of these, I guess, what do they call them? Debates. And after he was killed, there was instantly bomb threats being called into multiple HBCUs. I think it was Alabama State was one, Howard was one, I think Virginia State was one, and there was another one. Well, now this group has decided to take their prove me wrong debate situation to Tennessee State University. Now, the thing with this is these people just showed up uninvited, unannounced, unplanned, to try and debate. And they were all wearing their MAGA hats. And you go to a HBCU, you go to a Black campus, and you start to try to trigger and engage, with these college students. At this point, when I put my little tinfoil hat on, to me, at this point, is one of those things where it's not about, debate. It's not about having thoughtful conversation. To me, it's a way to incite violence and feed into their narrative. Because if you've noticed, a lot of the protests that have been happening around the country, the Not My King and all these different things, Black people in mass have sat this out. I think after what happened with the election last year, Black people are like, you know what? Y'all got it. This is what y'all want to do. And to me, it feels like it's not for thoughtful debate, because why would you, if you're doing this for the guy who got killed at his debate, why are you going to HBCUs? He wasn't going to HBCUs. He wasn't targeting Black universities. To me, it feels like a concerted effort to try and do their quote unquote race war, because that's what they want to prove. See, they're violent, they're this, they're that, and they're third. And these students were fighting back and saying, no, we don't want you here. We didn't invite you here. You shouldn't be here. And already the comments online, they were like, why did the police remove you? You have your right to do this, that, and the third. And the university had to come out with a statement and said, these people were not invited. They were antagonizing our students, and our goal is to keep our students safe. And we've seen what folks with these MAGA hats and this whole thing, what their ultimate, I think, goal is to start chaos and to bring chaos. And these students are like, we're not having it. We don't want this, and you need to leave. And the university, the campus police, I think the state police as well, came in and got them off of the campus. And so I brought this up because, one, you have a direct, connection to this, but also in the grand scheme of things of how they're trying to bring this to the forefront. And to me, like I said, antagonize people to try and pull them out of their character. Because one of the signs is like DEI should be illegal. The other sign is to pour all illegals. Let's talk now. Now let's talk. Why? What's the point of this? You're not there to listen. You're not there for thoughtful engagement. You're there to be a chaos agent.
I don't, to be honest, I don't think these people who showed up on on TSU's campus, thought any of that through. The reason why I say that is because if they really wanted to have a debate with people who maybe differ in ideologies, then they probably would have set up something a little bit more formal. Whether they can do it on TSU's campus or not, that ain't the point. The point is supposed to be to have conversations with people with different ideologies. So if they really wanted to do that, for what it's worth, at the very least, Charlie Kirk was invited to those universities,
Mm-hmm.
to those campuses, and all the procedural stuff was taken care of prior to him ever having conversations
Step foot on
with,
the campus.
right, whatever them yeah, before they're having conversations with people on the campus, right?
Mm-hmm.
What these people are doing is just a photo op. They're just angry, and they want to let their frustrations be known. And what better way to do that is on a HBCU, just for the sake of making those kids feel uncomfortable, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
even think it was chaos. I don't think it was incite violence. I think they felt uncomfortable with the discourse in America around Charlie Kirk. So
Mm-hmm.
they figured, okay, if I'm frustrated, let me just try to frustrate some other people. So they went on TSU's campus just to be frustrating, right? And the fact that
Mm-hmm.
they are getting all this attention, and the fact that all these photo ops,
It
really
feeds
mission
into it.
accomplished, right? Mission accomplished for them. Now, if we claim we are sitting this one out, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
general consensus since this previous administration, this current administration took office. We're sitting
Mm-hmm.
this one out. If we really wanted to sit this out, we need to start being more, what's the word, starts with a C, where you're trying to figure some stuff out. We need to be more
Conscientious.
coordinated. No, coordinated. But then there's another word. We need to be more, it's not even a C, strategic. We need to
Oh.
be more strategic. When we see things like this happening
Mm-hmm.
on, let's just use this perfect example. We got two white dudes with MAGA hats with signs that are triggering two black kids on an HBCU campus. The response should be no response. What they should have did, what if we're being strategic about this, but at the same time not engaging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want you to engage, because that's the whole point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not a campus administrator, or I'm not a dean or president or nothing, right? But let them have their space. If they want to come on an HBCU campus and all they're doing is setting up a bench and holding up signs and waiting for people to engage, what we should do is ignore is not the right word, but it should be like, we should have an event that takes place at the same time where these two dudes are sitting, and just sit around and just ignore them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stand in front, like group up in front of them, but then turn your backs and just have conversations, or somebody have an event right there. Like, if they just want to
Kind of
roll
like a
up,
business as usual approach.
right. Like, I don't know what campuses do on Fridays. We used to have
Mm-hmm.
fashion Fridays when I matriculated to where we got dressed up on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
We would have switched that to whenever these people show up, we get dressed up, we hang out, and we don't say, nobody says nothing to them.
Don't acknowledge
Nobody
them.
responds to them. Nobody acknowledges them. You want to make two white dudes feel uncomfortable? Have them standing around 100 or so black people. If that's the problem, if that's what you came for, I'm gonna give you what you came for. If you ask
Mm-hmm.
me, right? Now, I get it. By letting them do it, you let some other people do it, and you let some other people do it, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and
Yeah.
then it's out of control.
Yeah.
I get it, which
Yeah.
is why I'm not a dean of present students at a major college, because I would do things a little bit differently to
Yeah.
send the message that we are legitimately sitting this one out. We're not going to draw attention. I'd instruct the kids, don't take no pictures, don't take
Mm-hmm.
no video, don't try to put them on Instagram, don't try to put them on TikTok. Just do what you normally do on a
Yeah.
college campus in the hot Tennessee summer. They won't be there that long. They won't
Yeah.
be there that long. They will move on because they didn't do what they came to
They
do.
didn't get what they came for.
Right. When people will stop doing things when they don't get what they came for, but we keep giving it to them, and that
Yeah.
just fuels them
Feeds
up.
it.
That whole rage
Yeah.
bait thing, and it's not just black kids on HBCU campuses. It's on social media.
It's everywhere.
If you want attention, rage bait is the way to go, because people will get upset and they will fire back, and you've won.
Yeah.
The only way you don't win is if they don't get what they come for, because it's a waste of time. And you know what people don't like to do is waste their time, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's just personal advice. Again,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even take my own advice. I'd be like, we got to get them up out of here. But in our everyday daily lives,
Yeah.
stop engaging with these people. Stop arguing with them, because it's not that they don't get it. And all they're waiting for is the right person
The
with
spark.
the right verbiage to straighten them out. They're done. They're gone. Their ideology is their ideology.
And there's nothing you can say to change it.
And there's nothing you can say to change it. So why try? You know, people up on, you going on Instagram, I'm not even wasting my time, because only thing you're going to get is time wasted.
Yeah. And I think that the only other thing that I think that probably was concern is because of this is Tennessee. It is a southern state. Like in many southern states, open carry, people can carry guns. TSU is a public university, so it is technically public property. And I think with the volatility of some of these people and the fact that they're so mad at this whole process, but I'm like, you know, they always talk about black on black crime. This was white on white crime. Black people ain't have nothing to do with this. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of those things where there is a hypervigilance of harm possibly coming to these kids on this campus, because these people are so angry, when I don't understand why, because they have everything. They got it all. Everything they said that they wanted.
Look,
you got
this
it.
This ain't a white people problem. Enough is never enough.
Yeah.
It's never enough. Enough is never enough. I don't care who you are. I don't care what it is. This is just an example of, you ain't giving me what I want, so I'm going to try to take it. And
then a lot of times I think if I were a campus administrator or campus security president, dean, whatever, my thought would be, if we don't get them out of here, then we got to protect these kids. Most of these kids, 18, 19, 20, very late teens, early 20s, and they didn't come to school for this. And you want to be, like I said, hyper vigilant and, you know, make sure they're safe, because you don't know what these people are up to, what they have up their sleeve, what their alternative is. In this case, these guys didn't seem very smart and didn't seem like they gave a lot of forethought. But after they've seen this happen, you know how it works. It spurns copycats all over, you know, different states. And it's one of those things where it's just, you try to prepare for what you can, and you try to do what you think is best in the moment. Again, hindsight is always 20/20. You can always see a better way after it's done, after the imminent danger and is done and the fire is put out. But, you know, I think they handled it as best as they could, and it seems like it dissipated fairly quickly. And at the end of the day, none of these kids got hurt. None of these kids hurt anybody, and none of these folks hurt these kids. And to me, that's the win in it. And now I think people are going to be supremely aware that this is the type of thing that is going on in their circles. Because again, I would be surprised if we start seeing these pop up other places. This maybe was just a test run to see how it would land, how it would work. They see it, they tweak it, and they try something else. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some copycats. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where it could escalate really quickly. So people who have kids on college campuses, I mean, not just college campuses at this point, anywhere, because this stuff could pop off anywhere. But I think the students and the administrators and law enforcement handled it as best way they could. And the fact that nobody got hurt I count that as a win. All right, let's head into the hookup. I actually have a tech tip of the week, and I found this on Twitter from Cult of Mac. And with this new update on AirPods, before, if you have your Apple Watch, you can control your camera. You can take pictures you can control taking pictures from your Apple Watch. I use that all the time. You can now use your AirPods to take a photo. So, couple of things. There are a couple of caveats that you have to do with this. When you go to settings, you have to either have your AirPods in your ear or the case open. So when you go to settings, right below your name, there's usually your AirPods. Mine is Nica's AirPods Pro 2. You click on that, then you scroll down to the new camera control feature. You tap camera remote, and there's an option to either press once on the stem of your AirPods or do a long press. Now, once you have that set up, you open the camera app and you press, whether you selected the press once or press and hold, it takes your photo. And what it does is it takes a burst of 10 photos, because a lot of times, people's eyes closed, whatever the case may be. So you get a plethora of images to choose from that. So I said there are some caveats. AirPods the case has to be open, or the AirPods have to be connected. The biggest thing is you have to be on a specific firmware version. You have to be on firmware version 8A356. I tried this myself when I saw it. My firmware has not updated. The update came out last week, so I haven't been able to try it myself. But I'm hoping that my AirPod firmware update comes in soon, so I can give this a try.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they did the burst so you don't take a picture you touching your ear. You take the picture, you press and hold the button, let it start doing what it's doing, and then you can get in and do a pose. Yeah. And then one of them pictures would be the right pose versus all the other ones you touching your ear, right?
Yeah.
An additional way to do this is via the Shortcuts app, and this is what I've done. I typically see what you're doing, what camera control is, me doing a selfie, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna mount the phone over there because my arms are too short or my fingers are too small, and I want to mount the phone on something, step back, and take a picture, right? Like Nick mentioned, you can do it with the camera control on your watch. Now you can do it with the AirPods. Another way you can do it is via Shortcuts, and this is the way I do it. I set up a shortcut to where when I say, "Hey, homegirl, say cheese," it'll open up the app, it'll flip it to the front facing camera, and it'll take a picture. So those are 3 ways to do it. Use the camera control on the AirPods, use your watch if you have Apple Watch. If you don't have AirPods or an Apple Watch, you can set up a shortcut to when you say cheese, for example, you can say it for whatever verbiage, take this picture, or I'm ready for my close-up, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I just got it to say cheese. It'll open up the camera. You can choose front-facing or rear-facing, and you can take the picture that way.
Nice. So options for getting those selfies in just the right way. And with that, that's going to wrap up this week's show. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva. You can also find our show at SnobOScast. You can also head on over to our website, snoboscast.com, to comment, to share, to connect, to support the show, and get all those other details over on our website. And with that, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.